Hello and welcome to this Beard Clipper Christmas special. Now I'm going to be publishing this video on Christmas Eve, and you should know that this evening we will be watching the film that I'm doing the diorama of. And as I stand here at the beginning of December, because I'm filming this through the month of December, it's a Christmas special for me as well as putting the video out for you. I'm really excited about Christmas Eve because I love watching this film on Christmas Eve. And I'm sure that you probably guessed what it is now, or certainly you have, probably because of the thumbnail. But yeah, Christmas doesn't happen. It doesn't start until Hans Gruber falls off the Nakatomi Plaza. And so this is going to be me making a diorama of that scene. So I've printed out a Hans Gruber and I've painted him falling off the Nakatomi Plaza, and the link for that will be in the description below. The link for the file, it's free, so you can go and download it yourself and print it out yourself. What I'm going to be doing in this video is showing how I'm going to make the diorama, so that's basically what this is. So I really hope you enjoy it. Please do let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you watched this film or if you have a different film which is a Christmas special for you. I'd love to hear from you, and I do reply to all your comments, so yeah, do let me know. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. Well, here he is, painted up and ready to have a diorama built around him. And yes, I am wearing my my Santa hat, and I will be throughout this build, I promise. So the idea I've got is that that this should work from multiple angles. So I'm going to attempt to explain how what I mean using this little sheet of paper here, this kitchen roll. So Hans falls off the Nakatomi Plaza, and the traditional view you'd have of him is with him falling away from you, so falling down. So you'd be looking down on him, and below you'll see the car park and all the cop cars and what have you, and you wouldn't really see the building. However, what I'd like to do this is so that you could have it so that he's falling down. So that would mean that to look at him, he will be like this. This is a bit hard to explain. When it's done, you'll see. But also, I want to have it so that you can have it like this. So you're looking across, and you'll have the Nakatomi Plaza going past him, and he will be kind of positioned like that. I'm not entirely sure whether that made any sense. It does in my head, and hopefully it will do by the time I finish, because you'll see it. So what I'm going to do, I had some crazy ideas about curves and stuff, but no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself a base out of XPS and a backdrop out of XPS at 90 degrees, and then I'm going to do the bottom of it is going to be, like I say, the bottom of the Nakatomi Plaza. So I'll have some bright lights of police cars, and just mainly black but greys and what have you, and then the Nakatomi Plaza backdrop will be lots of smears and swirls because he's dropping fast, so it'll be lots of lines as if it's a stuff moving past fast. So that's the idea. I don't know whether it's going to work. Either way, it's going to be a fun Christmas thing, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. I printed one of these out, lost it, printed this out again, but this has been a plan all year to get this done, so I'm really excited to get going on it. Let's see how it looks. The first thing I'm doing is making the base backdrop, which is going to be a base as well. And I've decided I'm going to do it roughly A5. Now, I was looking at this MDF here, and I was thinking, you know what, I'm just going to get 2 pieces of MDF. But I'm not going to, because it's just going to be too difficult to stick together and maintain a good 90-degree angle where at the back. So I've cut some blue foam out here, which is the right width, and I'm making use of the masking tape because that's not the easiest length to cut on the proxxon. It's not great for large things, so I'll be able to cut this out and then cut another one out and then use the proxxon as well to do a 45 degrees, and then I'll be able to get a really good strong bond that I can glue together, and that's my plan. So I'm going to cut this out, then masking tape again and cut again, which actually I can do now because I can just offer that up like that and then come along with the masking tape like so. Make sure I haven't knocked that, because I want this to be pretty accurate. There we are. So we've masked that up. And now actually what I'll do is I'll bring you over to my proxxon and we'll see how well this masking tape acts as a guide. So here we are, this is the proxxon. Let me show you why I've done that masking. So if I want to cut there, my guide is going to have to be right at the back and it is not secure. It's one of the issues that I have with this tool. However, with masking tape, what you can do is set the masking tape in place and then follow along it quite well. It's a bit weavy wavy, it's not perfect. Probably the better idea would be to put masking tape on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is do that and see if that's better. Right, so now I've got the masking tape on both sides, and so we're going to see whether this is going to come out any better. Hopefully it will. Okay, that is a much better cut. So now we have two pieces that are the same size, and I'm about to make those into the backdrop. So what I'm now going to do is use the 90 degrees. I'll cut off the weavy wavy side of each, and then I'll be able to glue them together like that, and then we'll be able to have both hand scriber falling or hand scriber falling. So for the 45 degree cut, underneath here I have another shifting lands bit of kit which is already set to 45, which is useful, but I always forget how this works. Right, it works like that. So the challenge for this tool, and shifting land guides are absolutely the best thing you can buy for your proxxon, but they aren't foolproof. They are foolproof, but they aren't, you know, you do need to think when you're going to use them. So basically what you're trying to do is get the corner of this here lined up exactly, or as exactly as you can, with the cutting end, because that's what's going to happen. Is we're going to come along here and cut 45 degrees off. So you can mock it up, and I've actually pulled it a little bit too far towards me, so we're going to have to move it back that way. So let me just get this positioned correctly. There we are. So that's been positioned correctly. So what we're now going to do is pass this through and we'll get a nice 45 degree cut. And there you are, you can see a really nice angle. So if we cut the other one, and thankfully on this one I don't have to think. As long as I do the short end, I'm definitely going to end up with the correct result. So I will use pins, and I will use the extra strong glue that I like so much, and I'll glue that together, and then we have the ground and the tower for hands to fall off and fall towards and whatever. So yeah, get that next step done, bring it back in a second. There we are, that's glued, clamped and pinned, though I've only put pins in from this side. I've not put pins in from underneath. I'll put the pins in from underneath once this is a bit more set. But that's going to be pretty much square, and I'm happy with how that looks. So I'll leave that for a couple of hours and then come back to it. I just realised I wasn't wearing my hat. Oh no! So I'm wearing it now, and I'm going to wear it for the next non-Christmas build related build, and I will remember to put it on next time, I promise. What an idiot. Unfortunately, my microphone stopped working, and it did record, but it was a very low input, so you've got voiceover beard for you now. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting cardboard on the inside of the frame. Now the reason for this is to make it easier to paint, because paint doesn't always go on very well on the blue foam, and sometimes it can take many layers to get it a really good deep colour that doesn't have any of the blue showing through. And so I decided to put cardboard on. Now, it worked pretty well. I glued it on with PVA, but unfortunately, as you'll see later on, this actually did cause a warp, which I should have really known it would happen, but it ended up being okay in the end. So I still think I would redo this, though maybe I might have clamped it a bit more effectively and paid more attention to the warp. But yeah, so it's simply a case of cutting out to the correct size and then gluing on with the PVA, and then that means that the painting can be done better. So that's what this is. Next thing for me to do on this, now I've got the cardboard on, is to paint it black. And then I will be able to do all of my, it's actually going to be mostly a painting project this, which is interesting because that's not really my skill set. But I'll be able to then paint on it with the what I want to give, some of the greys and the whites and the luminescence. It will go a lot better onto a black background, I think. So this will dry really quickly, and then once it's dried I can come along and start to block on the colours and work out how I'm going to do both the bottom underneath him and do the tower behind him. As you can see how quickly it's drying. This is neat paint, it's not got anything in it, I don't need anything in it. So it's just a very dry paint already. So yeah, so I'll get that done on all of it. Paint the back as well. Let it dry fully, and then I'll come along and start to paint on both, as I say, the bottom, so the plaza below the Nakatomi and the Nakatomi Tower. Warping really is the worst thing in the world, and what you can see here is that this is quite badly warped. I've got a 90 degrees here. If I line that up with that, look at how off it is. So I've been knowing how to solve this, and I've been thinking about this for a couple of days now. And I've decided to go for the nuclear option, which is to get some really big brackets like this, glue them on the outside, and make sure that it stays square using these. Now that's going to be obviously quite a quite a nuclear option. But what I'm thinking is, and as I've been kind of like pondering this, what I've been thinking is I could actually potentially, and I won't do it this year because I haven't got the materials or the skills, but this could be expanded and extended upon with some LEDs and some flickering lights and a battery pack. And this will give me space to do that. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue these on either side, and I'm going to do this in 2 steps. So the first step is going to be to glue it down one of the edges and clamp that. And then when that's fully dry, I'm going to glue it along the other edge. And I'm going to use the super strong glue and hope that it works. So what we'll do is we'll run a bead down, and I'll do this on both sides. I might actually do this in 4 stages. Put that in place, and you can see just how off it is down here. So once that's dried, and I'll weight that down, once that's dried, I'll glue the other one on the other side, and then when that's dried, I will glue the bottom halves. And then we'll come back and do the rest, which is the painting. Because we're not far off finished on this. I just need to get this square, and then I've worked out how I'm going to paint it. So yeah, saving warping seems to be all I'm doing at this time at the moment. But I'm learning all the time, and hopefully these mistakes and whatevers are helping you as well. I've just drilled a couple of holes in Hans, one on his back and one on his foot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue him to these metal rods. So I'm going to do this in 2 stages. I'm first going to glue on the back, and I'm going to get him set properly, accurately upright, as you can see, so that his tie is going directly up. And then I'm going to glue that in place using super glue accelerant. And then when that's dried and done, then I'll turn over, press another one into this base and glue him there so that that's coming out at 90 degrees. So I've got a 90 degree angle, and then that can then be, if I turn the camera to where the base is, that can then be mounted on the base. So I'll have one going through there and I'll have a hole going through there. And yeah, that's the plan. Hopefully it's going to work. The next thing to do, you can see that these have glued on okay. I'm a little bit annoyed that I've had to put the metal on, but it's okay, and it makes it quite a solid base. I'm now going to start, once I've glued this, I'm going to start to draw up and paint on the floor, the ground, and also the stripes for the falling down the tower. So I will bring you back for that. I'll get the gluing done, and then when I'm starting to do the painting and the drawing and what have you, then I'll turn the camera back on for that. So we're nearly done, not far off hopefully. So you can see that Hans is glued to his wires, so the next thing I need to do is work out the way I'm going to paint the base to look like the falling. Now I've got a picture which I will put on the screen now if I can remember to, which is a still from the film, which is what I've been basing this whole build on. And you can see that there's light and dark areas and there's grey areas and it's angled and what have you. And you can see that basically is what we're looking at. So I'm currently, while I'm recording, I've got that on the computer, which is actually behind me, which is a shame. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along, I'm just going to draw some lines on, and I'm going to then come along with some grey paints and some white paints and what have you. And I'm going to kind of draw the going to draw roughly where I want things to go. So that's going to be, so there's going to be dark and light sections, and then within those there's going to be kind of smoky areas and what have you, which I might do with some hollow fibre or what have you. But it's got to be pretty impressionistic. I'm not too worried about getting it completely wrong, because I'm not sure how many people will look that closely apart from you guys watching this. Thank you very much for watching it, by the way. And happy Christmas as well, obviously. Oh, I'm not wearing my hat. I'm a very bad person. Let me go and get my hat. There we are. I've got my hat on. Oh, that was close. That could have been a catastrophe. So yeah, so what we're going to do is just going to draw on some lines. This is going to be the turning circle kind of thing. So there's a kind of circular area. And what I'll do with this is, as I say, I'll get some grey paint and some black paint and mix some paints, and we'll get that painted up, and then I'll put some actual dots for the lights. Now I might, as I said before, add to this in a future video. I'm not going to do it now because my skill with LEDs is certainly not great enough, but I may very well add LEDs to this later, but for now I'm just going to do it with paint. So what we've got here is my grey paints, which is what I'm going to start with. I've got a darker grey and a lighter grey. I'm just going to grab a brush, and I'll do this while you're watching as well, or at least start it so you can see how I'm going about it, even if I don't end up filming it all. But I'm hoping this is going to be relatively simple. I'm not worrying at the moment, as you see, about actually putting Mr. Gruber in position. I'll do that once I've done this, because if he was stuck in place, this would become incredibly fiddly to do. But all I'm going to be doing is painting along roughly between these lines to give it a checkerboard effect. Now the thing to remember is paints always dry lighter, so that's actually a very light grey. So I may end up doing a couple of coats, and I may end up changing the tone and the colour that I get. But yeah, it's going to be some of this. And then the next thing I'll do is a darker greys, and I've got white and I've got black, so I can mix. But it is very much a black and white view down into the car park where he's falling towards. So obviously this is where he's falling towards. There we are. And then just looking back at the what's it, this is a little bit kind of lighter as well. But the good thing is that actually I might actually be able to do something with a little bit more texture style brushing rather than doing it clean as well, just to make it look a bit more fluffy and what have you. So what we'll now do is we're going to get the darker grey, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to paint the squares of darker greys. There we are. I think that'll do for now in terms of the colours that I want to do as a first stage. I will let that dry, and if I add any more I'll bring you along and show you. But you're just getting the impression there, aren't you, of what's underneath. And like I say, I'll be adding some reds and some yellows and some whites as dots, which will be the lights that are quite prominently displayed on that image. So now I'm going to have a think about how I'm going to do the falling part. This is going to be the tower. So that's going to take a little bit more thought, so I'll bring you along when I get to that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint some of the different colours that we see behind Hans as he's falling. So I will literally just be doing these as blobs. I have a couple of these soft bristled small brushes, which I will use to pick some little things out like that, just to mark out some of the lights. There may be street lights, there may be police lights, those are almost certainly street lights. Go around in the curve there. You can see in the picture that there's a curve of street lights that does that. So let's grab them out. There we are, that's nice. And that comes down here. Yeah, so we're just going to pick these out, and then next up, very much straight after I'm filming this, I'm going to be doing the display behind him. So the actual tower, and then we're nearly done. So I also have some red. I don't have any bright red, but I think it's quite nice to have a little bit of a variety, and I might pick up some bright red from my hobby paints. So I'm just using house paints and samples to do this, just to put a little bit of variety into the bottom. Yeah, really simple, not a complicated process. I'm pretty pleased with how this is coming out. There we are. So we have lights. Now I might also come along with white, but I'm going to do that last because I'll probably be painting with white on here on the back. So I'll get this cleaned up, happy with that at the moment, and then we'll have a look at the tower. So here we're going to have a look at doing the tower. And I'm going to use a ruler here because what's going to happen is we're going to have, I'm not going to do too much of a vanishing point, but you are going to have a vanishing point of where the lines for the tower actually are, because, well, you are going to have a vanishing point because it's falling. So we'll draw those in, and I'm only going to have 3 lines. Oh, I've run out of lead on that one. So we're going to have the 3 lines, and that's going to be where the edges of the windows are. And in the same way, you'll have horizontal lines going across. Now this is not going to be particularly rigidly held to, because I'm going to be doing speed lines and stuff as he's falling, but it's just going to give me the impression and give the idea of what's going on here roughly, because that's what the Nakatomi Plaza looked like. Is a grid of a shape of lines like that. So I'm going to come along, I've got a little brush here, going to come along and roughly follow those lines with my light grey. So let's see how accurately I can do this. There we are, that's painted that in. So I'll quickly wash my brush, and then we'll come along and we'll put a little bit of the white on and some of the colour, and hopefully that will work well. So for the white, what I'm going to be doing is painting on some stripes, and if this doesn't work I'll have to paint it over and start again. So I'm not totally sure how this is going to work, but I just want to give the impression of speed. So I've got quite a watered down white, and I'm just going to kind of just make it look like, I don't know, like you see if you look at a car that's going past you. If you're in a car and you've got kind of like the things go past you, and you don't really see through them, but you can see the impression that it's moving, and that's what I'm aiming for. Now I'm not the most artistic person, so this could look rubbish, but I'm going to give it a go. And you can see basically the idea is just some squiggles. It's a very fancy sounding idea of what I'm trying to do, but ultimately it's just squiggles. And then what we'll do inside those squiggles, we'll put some colours, because that'll be the reflection of the ground below. And then hopefully this doesn't ruin it. So there we are, we have some squiggles. So if we turn this the correct way up, there you are. That's not so bad, that's not so terrible. So what I'm going to do is wash that brush. Actually no, I'm going to do a couple of drops of the white on down here, aren't I? we are. Right, so I'm going to wash my brush, let that all dry, which won't take very long, and then when I come back, we'll do the colours, and then I'll fit hands in place, and then we're done. That's dried now, so what I'm going to do is add these smears up. There we are, that'll do. And now, let's fit hands. So this is going to be a little bit interesting to do. What I've got is I've got the wires, as you can see, and I need to make sure that when I push them through, he is nicely secured. Now, one of the good benefits I've realised about this metal frame is I'm going to be able to make use of my favourite moment, extra fix, to actually glue the metal in place. So I'll be able to put this through, bend it with tweezers, and then put a nice big blob of the moment fix, and that will keep it in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark roughly where I want the hole to be, which is about there, and then using another piece of wire of the same thickness, I'm going to try and push it through. Now I might need to get myself a bradawl or something, because I've got the cardboard to go through, which I'd forgotten, so let me just get a bradawl. There we are, so I've got a bradawl. So what I'll do is I'll roughly put a hole through here, just being very careful not to go too big. And now I've gone through the cardboard, I should be able to come along with this wire, which is the same thickness. There we are. So that now will accept his base, as you can see. So the next thing I need to do is work out roughly how far down I want to go. And that's going to be about there. And do the same thing on the back. So poke a little hole through the cardboard, and then make use of the wire to go the rest of the way. So I don't make too big a hole. And that's right the way through. Good. Okay. So finally what we're going to do is, this is going to be a bit fiddly, and I hope I'm going to be able to do this on camera, but apologies if this becomes slightly less good videoing. It's a bit fiddly, this. What we're going to do is I'm going to push this through, find the hole, I've lost it. There it is. And I'm going to try. Oh, this is very hard. I might not get this. This might not work. I just need to get it through. There it is, done it. I thought that wasn't going to work. Except I've done it wrong. Put them all around. Ah! And I thought that might happen. So I'm going to have to re-glue that metal in place. I thought that might happen. Ack. So what's happened is this has fallen out the bottom of his foot. And I thought that might happen as I was doing that. But it's okay, because we can come through this hole and I'll be able to glue it back in place using super glue and a spray, and it'll be okay. I can save it. Never a boring moment, is there? So that is how he is going to be falling. Where's the hole? There it is. So I'm going to need to glue Hans back on, but I think before I do that, I'm actually going to bend the wires and get them glued in place in exactly where I want them to be, which is going to be about there, and then snip them off, and then I will I'll come and glue it back. So I will get some bending done, things that I need 2 hands, and I'm struggling to film this, and I'll turn the camera back on as soon as I can to show you what I've done and finish this up. But we're not far off now, I don't think. It's pretty cool. Oh yeah, so that worked out basically how I described it. I got some super glue and I got the super glue spray, and I was able to attach his foot to the wire where it broke off. I will probably touch that up with some black paint once it's all dried, but on the back I'll just turn that around and you can see, very carefully turn it around because it's only just been done, but on the back where the wire go through, I have put a load of this moment glue and smeared it over the top of the wire, so that should hold that in place nicely. So yeah, really pleased with how that's come out. I'm now going to step away with my hands in the air and leave it, and I'll get some pictures, and then we'll wrap this video up. And thank you very much for joining. And yes, I am wearing my hat. And I will wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Let's get some pictures and wrap this video up. So there we have it. It's been an ambition of mine to make this diorama, and I'm really pleased to have done it, and I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. It was pretty tough. The hardest thing was painting the tower side with the smears and what have you. That was the thing that I was most nervous about, but I think it turned out okay. It certainly gives the impression, and it's sat on my shelf now, and I get great pleasure walking past looking at it. So I really hope that this Christmas Eve finds you all very well, very happy, having a great time. And from me to you and all of yours, I wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and the best of New Year's to everyone. Here's to 2022 and to Christmas 2021, obviously. Thank you so much for being with me this year. I look forward to next year. And as always, please stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.